Hello, let's do the New York Times Medium Sudoku for April 24th, 2024. For these walkthroughs, I do an in-depth walkthrough that is also systematic. So the point of this is to train on the most important techniques in that order for what you want to look for when solving any Sudoku. And so the point of the mediums is for me to explain in detail how those work and also do them in order of importance. And then if you want to watch my hard solves as well, I do post those daily as well. Those are a more fluid solve where I'm focusing on multiple things at once and not necessarily explaining the stuff that I explain here. So just for context, that's what these are. I also provide a link in the description to play the puzzle yourself in this Sudoku pad software, which I find much nicer than the New York Times' own software. And it is free. It's a web-based software. It plays in your browser. And I'm going to get started right now. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go through each band. So there are 3 bands. These are called boxes. So we have a cell, we have a box, we have a row, and then we have a band. So a band is a row of 3 boxes. So what we're going to do is look through each band. And we're going to look for digits that appear twice in the band, exactly twice. So the easiest way to sort of get through that, because if there's 3 boxes, we need to compare each set of 2 boxes. So that's going to be 3 comparisons. You're going to keep repeating yourself if you you can, or you can try to look, but you might miss something. Just like look at all 3 and go, I see what's repeated. You might miss something. So what I like to do is start with the box that has the fewest givens. In this case, this only has 1 given digit in it. These are the givens, the numbers that are given to you at the start of the puzzle that make the puzzle. Those are called givens. So I really just any place digits. You want to look in the box for the place digits. In this case, there's just the 1, and you can compare that to the other 2 and just look for a 1. So we see that we have a second 1 here. And so now what those are going to do is they're going to affect the box that they aren't in that band. So this one's in box 1, this one is in box 3. So we look at the other box, box 2, and we see that these ones remove 1 from the rest of the row because we can't repeat 1 in the row. In Sudoku, we're placing the digits 1 to 9 once each, exactly once each in every row, column, and box. So we cannot place another 1 in these cells because of these 2 ones. Additionally, this 7 and this 9 are occupying 2 cells that could have been 1 for this row, but aren't. And so there is only 1 place in this box that can be 1, and the box still needs a 1. And so the 1 goes exactly right here. The name for this technique is a hidden single, basically, and you generally specify where you found it. So hidden single in box 2 in this case, because we looked at box 2, we saw that it still needed a 1, and we saw there was only 1 cell left that could be 1. So there was a single cell left. So this is a hidden single. It's hidden in the sense that we had to inspect the box to find it. I hope that makes sense. Hidden and naked techniques are named based on a kind of a different style of solving. You're going to find the hiddens are easier to find than the naked techniques with this solving style, but this solving style is also much cleaner, more fun, more effective in a lot of cases. Mostly more interesting. Okay, so now we're going to compare these 2 boxes to each other. So we have the 1, 7, and 9. We already looked at the 1. So 7 and 9, we don't even have to look over here. We just have to look over here for a 7 or 9. We have both. So these 2 7s, they pair up. They remove 7s from here. This 7 looks up. We can place this 7. Now, normally when we place a digit, we'd want to follow up on it. But there's nothing to follow up on yet because we are taking a systematic approach. If you were taking a more fluid approach, you may follow up on this 1 and this 7 vertically. And actually, you'd find quite a bit doing that. But we're trying not to get ahead of ourselves. And I'm going to go through step by step here in a more systematic way. We will do follow-ups, but only on things that we've already visited, rather than looking at the whole grid at once and getting a little bit out of sorts and not sure like where to pick up where we left off once a momentum is lost. So this way, we always know what we're trying to do. Okay, so we had the pair of 7s. Now we have a pair of 9s here. These 9s look in. We have, and again, we're looking down here for a buddy also for any 9s down here, right? We have this single 9 here that looks up. And so there's 9 is left to be in 2 cells in this box here. Now, we can't just pick one and place it in there. That's not how Sudoku works. The 9 goes in one of these cells, but we don't know which yet. We need to logically prove which one. So what we could do is we could just move on and just say, well, I can't place the 9, let's move on. But we do have a notation style that helps a lot with this for us to remember that there was a 9 in one of these 2 cells within this box 3. And that is to go into corner mark mode in Sudoku Pad and just place 9. And so what we've done is, what the corner mark means is that within the box, that digit can only go in the corner marked cells. So 9 is limited to these 2 cells. So if at any point in time we were to eliminate one of these as a possible place for 9, we would immediately know, and we could place the other 9 as a hidden single without having to re-find this stuff. Saves a lot of time. The point of notation is to remember what you've already found. I would not recommend doing blind notation, which is just trying to just discover things for no reason. You need a reason to notate. And we'll go over all the possible reasons as we go. Okay, so before we move on, we found all of the duplicate digits, but before we move on, there's 2 things I want you to look for, now that you've found like the easiest stuff in the band. First thing to look for is within a box, any row or column that's completely filled with digits. So this 179 is the only, and we're only looking at rows right now because we're scanning the horizontal rows. But this is completely filled with digits. The 1, 7, and 9 is completely filled. Right? So there's only 2 rows left to fill in this box. So one thing we can do is we can kind of imagine that there's kind of a fake buddy. What we can do is we can look at these 2 rows that aren't the filled ones and look for any digits that aren't already in the box. Unfortunately, we only have 1, 7s, and 9s. But let's pretend for a second, well, I'm sure we'll find one later, but just to continue explaining so you have context for this, let's just pretend for a second that this was a 2. I'm going to use a little digit so I don't forget it's not actually a 2. But if this was a 2, the 2 would look in here, and these aren't 2, and this 2 would look up. So we could actually corner mark the 2 up here, right? So we kind of have a fake buddy 2 over here, right? You can kind of think of that having whatever these 3 digits are going to be down here and pair up with something up here. And these digits are going to pair up with something up here because this is filled. I don't know if that makes sense. We'll go over it again when it comes up. The final thing that I want you to do before you move on is look for any box or row that is down to 4 or fewer digits. When we're band scanning, we're not caring about the verticals, except for small things like when we found these 2 7s, we looked at the vertical real quick to see if there's a 7 there. But we're focused on the horizontal right now, and that's part of our systematic method for solving mediums. For hards, I would skip around a bit more. But we're looking for rows or boxes with 4 or fewer digits remaining, 4 or fewer open cells. So this row, for example, and this box, for example. Which one to pick first? I don't know. Pick one. You're going to do both. And what you're going to do is you're going to think about what the digits are that are remaining. And I want you to then center mark, and we'll go over this as we get it. I want you to center mark any digits that are any cells that are down to 3 or fewer candidates. So let's go through this for this row. This row has a 1, but it needs a 2. It has a 3, but it needs a 4 and 5. It has a 6, 7. It needs an 8, and it has a 9. So just to go through the digits we need, it's 2, 4, 5, 8. And now what we're going to do is we're going to look for any 2, 4, 5, 8s that affect these 4 cells that might be helpful. So this 8, for example, affects this cell. Now we know this cell is down to only 3 digits, 2, 4, and 5. So what we're going to do is we're going to use center marks to remember that. Center marks are used for the cell and cell only. It's not based on the box. It's not based on the row or anything. Center marks are for the cell itself. And what that's telling us is that the final solution to this puzzle, this cell that I've highlighted here, will be a 2, 4, or 5, guaranteed. It won't be any other digit because it would otherwise repeat one of these 6 digits. The 1, 3, 6, 7, 8, or 9, it would repeat one of those if it were any of those here. So it's not going to be. It's only going to be a 2, 4, or 5. Now later we may use more logic to remove more digits from this cell. And once this cell is down to only 1 digit or 1 candidate, we call these center marks candidates because it's a candidate for what might go in this cell. Once it's down to only 1, we can just fill it, and that's called a naked single. And in fact, anything that uses our center marks directly is going to be called a naked technique. And that's because people used to center mark every cell at the very start of the solve. Some people still do. And when you do that, it's much easier. It's much easier for our brains to just ignore the givens and just focus on things we see in the center mark cells, what we've center marked in all the cells. And then those are called naked techniques because you can nakedly see it easily. Whereas the hidden stuff, was stuff that was hard to see because you can't see the forest for the trees, or whatever that phrase is. When we have so many center marks in the grid, it's hard to notice that like within this box, the 7 was only marked in one of them. You have to kind of look, right? But with the way that we go, first of all, we don't have to do the boring thing of going through every cell and center marking them right from the start. And secondly, we can find the hidden stuff, which is some of the more interesting stuff, right away. A lot of it you just sort of pops out because we're doing what I call given centric scanning. We're looking at the digits we know rather than the digits we don't know. Anyway, hope that's helpful and gives some context there. We need 2, 4, 5, 8 in this row. This cell can't be 4. So this is also down to 3 candidates. So I'm going to put 2, 5, 8 in there. These two are both just 2, 4, 5, 8. They can be any of them. So I'm not going to mark them because that's 4 in a cell and that's too many. I don't want to mark anything with 4 left. We do mark 3 or fewer because there are naked pairs and naked triples that we may need to find. And we're not going to be able to find those if we don't mark the cells that are down to 3 or fewer. And we're not necessarily marking every cell that's down to 3 or fewer, but we're doing it in a targeted way where we're most likely to find them so that we don't have to go cell by cell. We're only looking at the interesting cells that are likely restricted. Okay, so similarly, we have this box down to 4 digits. It's also 2, 4, 5, 8. This cell sees a 4, so this is 2, 5, 8, and this cell sees an 8, so it's 2, 4, 5. Kind of, it's interesting how it kind of parallels. The row and the box kind of parallel. Okay, so now we are down with this band. We have looked for the things that I want you to look for before moving on to the next band. There are more things you could look for, but we're not going to on our first pass. We'll look for those later. Okay, so this next band, again, we're just going to repeat what we just did. We're going to look, these all have 3 given, so I'm just going to pick this left one. I'm going to compare against these two. So 4, 8, 9. I see the 4 and I see the 8. So we'll do the 4s first. We do have this 4 down here, but it doesn't really help because the 3 is already in that spot. So we can corner mark 4 in one of these two. And then we have the 8, which looks in here, putting an 8 in one of these two. And then the 9 did not have a buddy. And so now we just look for buddies between this box and this box. 1, 2, 4, no buddies. Okay. Do we have any filled rows? We do not. Do we have any rows or boxes down to 4 or fewer? We do not. So we just move on. So we have this 1 and 7, no buddies there, but we will see that this is full, and we'll do that we'll do that after we find all the buddies. So now we just compare 3, 5, 9 against 4, 6, 9. The 9 is repeated. Those 9s look in here. These two are not 9 conveniently. Also, they wouldn't have been anyway from these 2 9s. And so we can place this 9 here. It doesn't hurt to take a glance at the 2 boxes that we've already scanned vertically and see if that affects things we've already found. And in this case, it does not. They already had 9s in the boxes. Okay, now what are we looking for next? We're looking for rows in boxes that are completely filled. So for example, this 179 and this 359. Let's start with the 179. So this 179, you can kind of think about having a fake buddy in one of the other box in the other box, right? So this 4, basically we're looking at these 2 rows and we're looking for any digits that aren't already placed in the box. So first of all, these aren't digits. Secondly, 9's already in the box. 5 is not, 3 is not, 9 is. And this 6 doesn't count because it's in the same row. So the 3, 5, and 4 are going to be interesting. And we can think of them as having a fake buddy in the other box that isn't the filled row. Because let's take this slowly. Let's just go in numerical order. Let's start with the 3. So this 3 looks into this box and takes 3 out of these 3. And this is filled with non-3s. So you can kind of think of that as having the same effect as if I had a 3 over here somewhere that was looking in. Do you see what I mean by a fake buddy? So this 3, this filled row acts as if I have another 3 over here. And we're actually going to find that we do have another 3 over here somewhere. So what we can do first is we can look at this box and say, well, then where can 3 go in the box? We have this 3 up here also helping. So we can corner mark 3s in one of these 2. Now, when we do that, that's going to do something called pointing. Let's go over pointing. It's very important to understand pointing and the concepts behind it. So what do these quarter mark 3s mean? Well, in this box, it means that the 3 is limited to this cell or this cell. In our final solution, the 3 will either be here or it will be here. Those are our only 2 choices. It won't be in both, obviously, but it'll be in one of them. Guaranteed, because this box has a 3 in it. So what do those 2 cells have in common? Well, they are in the same row. So no matter where this 3 ends up, it will be in row 9. So if row 9's 3 is over here, then it definitely can't be over here, and that's pointing. If you see, these 3's kind of line up, the quarter mark 3's line up in a horizontal line, and along that line, nothing else can be a 3, specifically outside the box. So we point into the other 2 boxes. It's as if one of these 3's were placed, right? If the 3 were placed here, this could not be a 3. If the 3 were placed here, this could not be a 3. And the DT2 goes off whenever you put a 3 in the corner, even if it's wrong. So we don't know if the 3 is right. It doesn't give away any info in case you're worried. So in both of those cases, this cell could not be 3. And these couldn't either, although they're already filled with 3. So 3 is not in these, and this 3 looks in. We have this 3 looking down, which doesn't really help. Which means 3 is in one of these 2. So remember how I said we kind of have a fake buddy over here? We actually have a real buddy over here. And this is how we're finding it, right? We're looking into this box. We're getting pointing in this box, which removes it from here, which means it's only in one of these 2. Now we're going to do the same thing with the 5 and with the 4. So numerical order, I guess, we'll do the 4. This 4 looks in. We have this 4 looking down as well. This is filled. And so 4 is in one of these 2. And now that removes 4 from these. It already couldn't have been 4. This 4 looks into here as well. This 4 looks down. That means there's a 4 in one of these 2. And this worked out just because this is also filled. We're going to look at this in a second. We're going to get the 6. But we need the 5 first. This 5 looks in. So 5 ends up in one of these 3. Just because it's 3, all 3 of them are still in row 9. So this still can't be a 5. This 5 looks in. This is not a 5. And so 5 is in one of these 2 cells. Now here's the next thing that I want you to always trigger. Whenever you put corner marks in, this is one of the huge advantages of corner marking, is we're able to find hidden pairs in boxes and also hidden triples. You're never going to find a hidden quad because you don't mark in 4 cells. But in this case, it's a hidden pair. What do I mean by that? Now remember, a hidden technique is something that you couldn't have seen just by penciling all of the candidates for the cells. If I penciled the candidates for these cells, there would be more options in 3, 5. 2, for example, would be an option. 7 would be an option. No, not 7. I don't know. 2 is a good enough example. At the very least, these could also be 2, right? But let's look at the logic of these 2 corner marks and how they interact. Similar to pointing, we're going to look at, back to basics, what do these corner marks mean? Well, the 3 means that in one of these 2 cells, there is going to be a 3. We don't know which, but one of them will be a 3. The 5 corner marks is telling us that one of these exact same 2 cells is going to be a 5. Well, if one of them is 3 and one of them is 5, they can't be anything else. We need 2 cells for 2 digits. So we can actually, when we get exactly overlapping corner marks like this, n corner marks in n cells, we can convert those corner marks to center marks because that's more powerful. What this is telling us is that these cells are only 3, 5, and they form a 3, 5 pair. And so what you always want to do when you find a hidden technique like this, a hit pair or a triple, is you want to think about what are the digits that can no longer be in here, and is that interesting to me? So I'm just going to go through each digit. 1, it already couldn't have been. 2, we just said that 2 was removed from these. So we want to see how that affects the row. We want to see how that affects the columns and how that affects the box, that these are no longer 2. Well, 2 in the box is in one of these. 2s in the columns are very, very open. Didn't really affect those. But 2 in the row, it definitely affected, right? So where does 2 go in this row? It's limited to only this box here. So actually 2 ends up in one of these 2 cells here. Additionally, we can keep going. The 4, we already know about the 4 in the row. We know the 4 in the, okay, it already couldn't have been 4, so we're not interested in that. 3 and we skipped 3 and 5 because they are, one of them's 3, one of them's 5. So we went through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 is in the box. 7's in the row. 8 is another digit that was affected. So the box and the row were affected. First of all, we can do the row. 8 ends up in one of these 3 for the row, which actually is in the box. Oh, we can corner mark that because they're all in the same box. But actually, all we've discovered here is that you can call this a hidden triple if you want. But really what we discovered here is that for this row, if 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 9 are already accounted for, we need to find where the 2, 4, and 8 go, and these are the only 3 cells that can be 2, 4, 8. So actually, this is 2, 8, this is 4, 8, this is 2, 4, 8, just because this sees a 2 and this sees a 4. So we can just center mark that instead, and that's what normally I would do. But how is 8 affected in this box? And something I'm going to notice is I'm just going to look around for 8s, and I'm going to see that I have this 8 here. And I'm just going to look at to see how the box is affected. Well, these aren't 8, these aren't 8, and this 3, 5 here is now not an 8 because of our hidden 3-5 pair. Removed 8 from this cell, because if it was 8, we would not be able to place the 3 and the 5 in the box. So that leaves only these two cells for 8. And we can corner mark that. They share a row, and that is going to point. That points and removes 8 from these cells. These aren't 8. This isn't 8. So that puts an 8 in one of these two cells. Now what we found here is a hidden triple, a 3-5-8 hidden triple. Let's go over the logic. It's going to be extremely similar to the hidden pair. Let's go over the logic. In this box, the 3 is limited to these two cells. The 5 is limited to these 3 cells, and the 8 is limited to these 2 cells. So actually, if we ignore the 5, we have a hidden 3-8 pair. That might be easier to think about, because the 3 is in these 2 cells, and the 8 is in these 2 cells. So this has to be a 3-8 pair. We have to put the 3 in one of these and the 8 in the other. We can't put the 5 in them, actually. So we can remove the corner mark 5s. We can also remove the 3-8, just because we convert those to center marks. And now there's only one place in this box that can be 5. Again, if I try to put a 5 here or here, I won't be able to fit the 3 and the 8 in the box anywhere. One of them will go in, but the other won't. So this is now a 5. We would have seen the same thing if we made this a 3-5-8 hidden triple. We would have seen this one couldn't be 3-8. But anyway, that 5 actually does remove this 5 center mark from the cell. We want to do a quick horizontal scan just to see if that affected the horizontal in any way, and I don't think it did. So we're going to just keep moving on. Okay, so we're going to continue center marking here because I have 3. Remember that the next thing to look for is when you only have 4 or fewer open cells in a row, column, or box. This box is down to 3. We can just automatically center mark when it's down to 3. The 3 digits remaining in this box, because we basically know where the 3-8 are, right? We don't need to consider 3-8. So the 3 digits remaining are 2, 4, and 6. And this cell can't be 4 or 6. So this is our first naked single in the puzzle, where we've written out all of the candidates that this cell can be, and it's down to only 2. So it must be 2. That's a naked single. It needs a value, and 2 is the only option. Remember that 8 is not an option because of this pointing 8, or because the 8s are down here, however you want to think about it. That 2 does remove 2 from this cell. Let's clean that up. And we're left with a 4-6 pair here, which this being full, now this row is down to 3, so we're going to center mark the rest of this row. We are down to the 1. We have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We need 7 and 8. And we can see that this cell cannot be 1 or 8, so it is a naked single 7, so we can place the 7 there. Okay. And then finally, this is going to be a naked single, because we know where the 1 and the 8 are. They're over here. This is a 1-8 pair. So the 1 and the 8, one of these will be 1, one of these will be 8, right? Because both of them need a value. One of these will be 1, one of these will be 5. And so what digit is not accounted for? We don't have anywhere that says where 2 goes. And so the 2 is a hidden single in this box. The 2 goes here. That removes 2 from this guy. Okay. This is very good progress. Finally, this box is down to a triple as well. So we can just fill that out. We need a 1. And we see that these two 1s actually do prevent 1 from being in either of these. So 1 can only go here. It's a hidden single. And then these 2 are going to be a pair. We have the 2, the 3, the 4, 5. We need 6 and 7. And I'm seeing this 7 here tell us the order. This is the 6. This is the 7. Very nice. And so now, just by focusing on this band and a little bit of extra sprinkling in from the top, we have basically solved the band horizontally. There's no more information to gain horizontally because we have a bunch of horizontal pairs and triples. So only the vertical is going to help us to resolve this band. Well, luckily we just finished with the last band, so now we're going to do the stacks. A column of 3 boxes, we call that a stack. You can think about how you stack boxes, right? So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to just repeat what we just did. So I'm going to look for buddies for this 4, 8, 9. So the 4 does not have a buddy. The 8 does not have a buddy, but the 9 does. But we have all 3 9s, so that's not helpful. So now we just compare this box to this other one. So we don't care about the 9. We already looked at that. We do have 2 1s. That's helpful. And this one also looks in, and this 4 is not a 1. So we have a hidden single 1 in this box. Next thing you want to do, we placed a digit, follow up. Now we have much more to follow up on because we already finished all our horizontal logic. So this updates our horizontal logic. We want to look for buddies for the 1. And we find a buddy. So those 1s look in, this one looks down. Now we can corner mark 1s here. Very handy. So we just did that follow up. It did not complete a row, so we don't need to follow up on that. But it did reduce a row to 4 or fewer digits. That's something we already looked for. So now we actually want to think about what these digits are. They are the 2, 3, 5, and 6. 2, 3, 5, 6. Neither of these are 2. So they're down to 3, 5, 6. I see this 3, 5 down here, but I'm going to fill it out. I'm going to remove the 5, remove the 3. Very handy. Both of these can be any... Oh, this one can't be 3. So this is 2, 5, 6. The 3's in the box. I think this can be any of 2, 3, 5, 6. So I'm not going to mark it. I guess previously I did not follow up on this one because... Oh, no, I did do this row. It's just this row was down to 2, 4, 5, 8. And these were all... These could be all 4 of them. So we don't need to worry about that. Okay. So I did not fail to follow up on that. So that was the 1. We still have the 3, 6, and 7 to find buddies for. We do have a buddy for the 7 down here. This 7 also looks in, so we have a 7 in one of these two. The 3 and the 6 did not have a buddy, so that's our buddies. What's the next thing we look for? Well, we look for filled columns. We don't have any, so we don't need to worry about that. And the final thing, what do we look for? We look for, in this case, we want to look for boxes or columns that are down to 4 or fewer. This column is down to 3. So the digits remaining are 2, 4, and 6. And we already have these center marked, but this one actually can't be 2 or 4. So the only digit this can be is 6. It is a naked single 6. We can fill 6 there. And that actually cascades. That finishes the whole column. This is a 4, and this is a 2. This 4 finishes the 4, 6 pair. Remember I said all these pairs will resolve vertically? That's coming true. Okay, so getting this 4, 6 doesn't help horizontally. This horizontal is done. We don't have to rescan it ever again. We know it's done because it's only horizontal pairs. If we had any vertical pairs, then that might have been helpful, but we only have horizontal pairs and triples. But getting this 6, this could affect this horizontal. So we take a quick gander. It doesn't seem to. No buddies. It did fill up this column though, but let's look at this column here. It's down to 3, 5, and 8, and this one can't be 3 or 8. So this is the 5. That gives us the 8 that resolves this triple, this 8 and this 3, which also resolves the 3, 8 pair here. Now this box is down to 2. We always want to focus on the least. So we're down to 4 and 5. So we just fill this 4, 5 pair. When I do that, I want to look horizontally because when you center mark something with 3 or fewer, you always want to be on the lookout to see if that completed a pair or a triple. You don't want to miss it. And in this row, it completed a 4 or 5 pair. That's extremely handy. This is what's called a naked pair because we center marked this cell and saw it was down to only 4 or 5. Those are in the final puzzle. It will be a 4 or it will be a 5. The same is true of this cell. When the puzzle is done, this cell will be a 4 or a 5. We don't know what order they go in, but we know they're different because they share a row. Because they are different, one of them will be 4 and one of them will be 5. There's no other option. They're not going to be both 4. They're not going to be both 5. They're not going to be any other digit because only 4 and 5 are available in these two cells. Therefore, we know basically where the 4 and 5 are in this row. They're in these two cells. So how could it also be here or here? So it removes 4 and 5 from these two cells. This is not a 5. This is 2, 8. You can also, for every naked technique, there is an equivalent hidden technique. So there were 4 open cells in this row. The naked technique used 2 cells. So the hidden technique uses the other 2 cells. So the other thing I could have asked is where do 2 and 8 go in this row? Well, this cell's not 2 or 8. And this cell's not 2 or 8. So there are only 2 cells in this row that can be 2, 8. So that's a hidden pair. They must be 2, 8. They can't be 4, 5. It's going to do the exact same thing. They're equivalent things. For every hidden, there is a naked. For every naked, there's a hidden. And it's n minus, it's the number of open cells minus the number of cells used in the hidden or the naked gives you the other one. So hidden plus naked equals open cells, if you want that equation. Anyway, this is 2, 8. Now, what did that do? That removed 4 and 5 from these two cells. So we want to think about 4 and 5 and see if there's anything special going on there. Not that I can tell. So we're going to move on. But that was handy. We got these down to 2, 8, which is very handy. Now we have this. We're still doing this vertical. This vertical is done, right? Other than some vertical pair and a vertical triple. This might even be better than a triple. I haven't looked yet. What do we need? We need 2, 3, and 7. Okay, this is going to clean up a little bit, but it's not done. The 7's removed from here, the 2's removed from here, the 3's removed from here. I don't need these corner marks anymore. And just like this band is considered done, we can consider this stack done as well. We never have to follow up vertically because we only have a vertical pair and a vertical triple to resolve. All right, now we move on to the next stack. I'm going to start with this 1, 7, 9. So 1, we already have 3 of. The 7, we do have a buddy. They look down. This 7 looks in. So 7's in one of these two cells. And then the 9 also has a buddy. Those 9s look in. This 9 looks in. This is not 9. We have a hidden single 9 in the box. We can place it. Sorry, I do need to replace my cough drop as well. But what are we going to do next? Why don't you think about it while I put in my cough drop? If you said follow up on the 9, you'd be correct. We have a buddy 9 horizontally. So let's follow up on it. And this 9 looks up, so we can put 9 in one of these two cells. What's the other follow-up for this 9? There's actually 2. One is that this box is now down to, it is down to more than 3. I thought this was a pair for a second, but anyway, it does reduce this row. So the other thing is it reduces this row to 4 open cells. So we want to think about what those are. We need the 2, the 4, the 6, and the 7. 2, 4, 6, 7. So this one is not, this one's not 4. So this is 2. Oh, it's not 2 or 4. So this is 6, 7 only. This one's not 2. So this is 4, 6, 7. It's not 7 either. Oh yeah, 7's not here. So this is 2, 4, 6. Okay. And what we do when we pencil something is we look for buddies. We look for anything identical. Another 6, 7, another 4, 6. Does this 2, 4, 6 do anything? We're looking. We don't see anything though, so nothing. We didn't complete any pairs or triples by doing that. Okay, that was very useful. We followed up on this band, but we were looking at the stack. So we got the 1, 7, and 9 taken care of. Now we want to compare the 2 and the 4, because we already looked at 1, 9. 2 and 4 down here. Unfortunately, we don't know where they go here or up here. Okay, so that's it for that vertical. So now we will look at this vertical over here. We've got the 1 and the 7. Yeah, because we don't have any filled verticals, and we looked at the... Oh, sorry, this column is down to 4. We can look at this column. And this column. Okay, yeah, I skipped that. Sorry. Let's do it. So we need 2, 3, 2, 3, 5, and 8. So this is 3, 5, 3, 5, 8. This is 2, 3, 5. This is not 2, so this is 3, 5, 8. One of the less useful results there. Here we need 3, 4, 6, 8. This is 3, 4, 6, and this is any of them. So we're not going to mark it. This is down to way more than 4, so... Okay, now we move on to this stack. The 7s are done. We don't need to worry about them. The 1 does not have a buddy. What about 3 and 8? Also no buddies. So no go there. What about any columns or boxes down to 4 or fewer? This one is, there are no pairs here. This is not a triple or anything. So I'm not seeing anything there. Just double checking that we don't have anything like that I missed. Okay, these are all down to 5 or more. The box is also 5 or more. Okay, so that is the end of our first phase. In the past 2 puzzles, the first phase has actually completed the puzzles. In this case, it did not. So there's more to find. So there's something a little bit more subtle to find than what we look for in the first phase. And the first phase can take you much less time than I spent on it. And you can see it got us quite a lot. So we're almost done with this puzzle. But now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the second phase, where we're going to do logic related to internals of a box. So instead of looking at the whole band and the whole stack, we're going to look at the internals of a box and how external stuff affects it. So we can ignore any box that we already know everything about. We already know everything about this box. We can ignore it. Then we're going to look at this box here. We don't know a whole lot about this box yet. We know this is filled. That's all we really know. And actually, when I placed this 8, I should have seen the fake buddy 8. So here's what you're looking for. You're looking for anything you missed in terms of corner marking that box. And you're looking for something a bit more subtle, which I call crossings. So first thing is, this is completely filled. So we want to look at these again just to make sure we didn't miss a follow-up, because it's very easy to miss a follow-up. We missed this 8. So this 8 looks in. There are no 8s down here. So 8's up here. And we just proved that one of these is 8, which is something we already knew. But we can corner mark the 8s up here. So that's the only thing I really missed there. But now what we're going to do is look for crossings. You want to pick two givens. I'm going to mark those in green. 2 givens that share a row or column. You're basically looking at pairs of givens, pairs of digits. We consider this a given at this point, right? Pairs of place digits. It would be a better way to put that. You're going to look for pairs of digits, and you're you're going to look, because these share a row, there's going to be a singular column that they don't occupy, and there's going to be 2 rows that they don't occupy. And what we're looking for is a digit in purple that is not already placed in the box, but does have a buddy in blue. So the 1 and the 3 would be the candidates for that. Or sorry, not the 1 though. Only the 3 is a place digit that is not already in the box. Or you can also look for pointing, like this 7 points in, but we already have the 7. So the 3 would be the only candidate. We'd look for a buddy 3 up here, and we don't see one. So that's a miss. We didn't find anything. Most of these you won't find something, but when you do, it's helpful. Now, there's actually 3 sets of digits to compare. We have the 7, 9 now. So we're going to look at this, and I'm just going to keep this blue highlighted because we're always going to have that being blue. So we don't care about these because they aren't filled, and the 7 and 9 are already there. But the 2 and 5 are candidates here, and actually the 2 is the one with the buddy. So the 2 looks in here, and this 2 looks in here. Now, what does that do? Let me make these gray. So this 2 and this 2 match up, and they cause all of these gray cells, all 5 of these gray cells can't be 2. And they miss the green cells, and they always will because of the way we're looking, right? We're looking at the column they aren't in, we're looking at the rows they aren't in. So we've removed 2 from 5 of the cells in this box, and we still have 2 more cells that aren't 5, that are these green ones we started with. And so that leaves only 2 cells in this box that can be 5. It could even give you a hidden single. In this case, it's 2 cells that are 5. When it's done to 2, it's always going to point. So the 5 points in here. And we look to see if there's any other restriction on 5s. There really isn't, but we can corner mark 5 on one of these 2, because now we know it's down to one of these 2 cells, which can be helpful. Okay, so you don't have to color. I'm just coloring for your sake. But I'm gonna look at the final pair here. Oh, shoot, I was not in color mode. There we go. The final pair is this 1, 9. So we're looking at the 4 and the 6. No buddies, right? So we're not going to find anything else there. We also have this 2 looking. Oh, did we place the 2? I don't know when we placed that 2, but the 2 looks in here. Did I say 5 instead of 2? Hold on, let me back up. What did I think I did the 5. I'm really sorry. That was very confusing. I did 5 instead of 2. I meant to do 2s here. I'm glad I caught that. These 2s point in. We already knew the 2 was down here, so that didn't do anything else. I'm really sorry about that. I'm trying to be instructive, and I make a mistake like that because I was. When you do things more fluidly, it's like there was probably a minute plus between when I found the 2s and when I finally placed them. So I apologize for that. But anyway, the 2 is in one of these 2, which is actually less exciting than the 5s. But anyway, now we're just going to move on. This 1, 7. Do we have any crossings on it? The candidates are 3, 4, and 6. We actually have the 3 and the 6. So the 3 and the 6 look in here. The 3 and the 6 look in here. This is going to be extremely helpful. If we take them together, then we can actually see that we have only 2 cells left for the 3 or the 6. Or you could corner mark them and still trigger that we found a hidden pair. This is a hidden 3, 6 pair. I think we've gone over that enough. It removes 9 from this cell. So that places the 9 in this box. That removes 9 from this cell, which places the 9 in this box. 9s are now done. And now actually it turns out that's true because we know where the 3, 6 are. We know where the 2, 8 are. We know where 1, 7, 9 is. So we have 4, 5 remaining. This cell can't be 4, so it actually ends up 5. So my mistake would have not been caught because it was correct. So now we're gonna do the consequences of placing this 4 or 5 as best as we can. It does place this 4 or 5 as well. It removes 5 from here. 5 looks in here. 5 looks up, putting a 5 in one of these 2, making this a hidden 2, 5 pair. So we can place that. Okay. There's going to be a lot of follow-ups at this point. Just do the low-hanging fruit first. This 4 looks down, giving us this 6 because it is naked single 6 now. That makes this a 7. This triples resolved 2, 3, and 7. That resolves this 6, 5, and 2. The whole row is resolved. That makes this a naked 4. This 2 makes this 8 and 2. With the markings we have, since they are the most useful markings we could have done, they're completely collapsing our puzzle. This is the 8. We get the 4 and the 2. We get the 5 and the 3, the 1 and the 8. I'm just following these red marks around at this point. We have the 1 here. This box has only 1 digit left, so we place it. That's 5. This is only 8 because it's down to 3, 8 for the box. This sees 3, so that's 8 and 3. That's our 8, and then we have 3 and 6 remaining, and we're done. So the puzzle just finished itself at that point. Cool. So I hope that was useful. Again, these because I go so slowly, these end up taking 30 to 45 minutes usually because of all the explanation. Our basic first phase did solve most of the puzzle, but then we had to go back through and we had to find something a little bit more subtle. And it seems like the thing that really triggered everything was finding this hidden 3-6 pair in this box, which we had this 1 and 7. We knew about this 3-6 down here, and we knew about this 3-6 over here, and they interacted together in an amazing way, right? If you ever find double buddies when you're looking for crossings, exactly double buddies, you have just struck gold because you found a hidden pair. You're never going to find triple buddies, right? How could you have triple buddies, right? Let's say there was an 8 here, and let's say this was an 8 instead of a 5, right? Just pretend that was an 8 instead of a 5. It's going to turn everything red, but anyway. I'd have 3, 5, 6 out of these. I'd have 3, 5, 6 out of these, and these wouldn't be 3, 5, 6. And I'd have to squeeze 3, 5, and 6 into 2 cells. So that's never going to happen. But if you find 2 identical buddies, then you have found a hidden pair, which is great. Okay. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you did, then why don't leave a like, subscribe, and a kind comment below.